hair is so important to people. It's like the bad hair day thing is real.
Where creating a category is really effing hard.
It's really hard, actually, to create a category. When does anyone think not to shampoo? Why would there be another way? When you're trying to build something new and convince a potential customer to change the way that they wash their hair, who's better to do that than a hairdresser who's literally using the product? Yes, we just announced it last week. We have partnered with Ulta, and we're going to.
So, welcome back to another episode of the Brilliant Commerce Podcast, where I am lucky enough to get a chance to sit down with some of the brightest minds in commerce today, behind today's iconic, and as I really like to say, next to be iconic brands. And today's guest is no exception to that rule. Joining me today is Dina Rosenbloom, CEO of Hairstory. Dina, welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Brian. I'm so excited to speak with you.
Yeah, and we sort of talked about this in the virtual backstage, but I have been very excited to chat with you. I've been following your career for a little bit. We had a couple of maybe near misses, maybe 10 years ago, an opportunity to maybe work at the same company that
Mhm.
I just learned about. But I'm happy that our paths are crossing now, virtually, although. And so, where am I finding you today?
I am in Manhattan near Union Square in our office.
Have you been in New York for? Yeah, how long have you
I
been in New York?
have been in New York since 1998.
Okay.
Lived in Brooklyn since 2001. Was lucky enough to land in Brooklyn right before the stock market, big
Yep.
crash. And yeah, have not been able to get myself out of New York.
Yeah.
Somehow I'm still here.
It has that pull. I, had always wanted to live in New York and got an opportunity in 2015, and I only lasted 6 years. Maybe I'm not as
Mhm.
tough as you, but I get a chance to go back maybe once a month now. There's a few folks from the core team that are there, and there's just something about that city. There's something about commerce too, I find, as I look at some of the brands that I have a relationship with today, a lot of them were born in New York, or that's their sort of their spiritual headquarters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's no place on earth to be building in commerce like New York City.
No. I mean, I think that, commerce, whether it's brick and mortar, or now online I mean, it lives in New York. It's everywhere around you. You can't escape it if you're in the city. So
Yep.
it's ever present.
Yeah, it is, and but it's not the only game in town. Like, and for me, that's kind of I think what made New York unique. And you saw all these risk takers, and maybe like the art of the pop up got started in New York because there was all this real estate and landlords that were willing to take risks on these brands that would sign short leases. And now look at the role that pop ups play
Yeah.
in brand building. If you're looking to acquire customers or create that relationship, I think it's yeah, it's pretty remarkable. But we'll get a chance to unpack that the omnichannel, traditional retail, online. I think you've sort of seen it all. Today you're the CEO of Hairstory. So for those that have not discovered Hairstory yet, tell us a little bit about the brand.
Yeah. So I am the CEO of Hairstory, which I have to pinch myself every once in a while, and we'll get to that too. Um, Hairstory is really interesting. I've actually been a customer of the brand since its inception in 2015, and have been with the company for coming on 4 years now.
Wow.
And Hairstory is based on it is the product of Michael Gordon, who was the founder creator of Bumble and Bumble. And after he sold Bumble to Estee Lauder, he wanted to, go off and do something creative. And he actually had a need, his own need, and a close colleague of his had scalp issues. So he decided he would create something that was actually really good for your scalp and your hair, because he knew from obviously building an empire in the hair care world that stylists would always complain about shampoo and how it like really strips the hair, and just the whole cutting process after having really cleaned the hair, because obviously most people shampoo and condition the hair before they before they cut, and then the conditioner makes it too slippery, so and their hands dry out. I mean, imagine washing hair all day, your hands get really dry. That's what happens to your scalp, right? So he had this need. He created he's a visionary, created a very innovative product, which is a cream cleanser that does not contain any detergents, which are found in all other shampoos. And what that does is it really just strips all of the oil out of your scalp. Um, all the good oils, the bad oils, right? All the dirt, all everything at once, and then you put the conditioner back on as a Band-Aid. So he created New Wash, an innovative cream cleanser that does not contain detergents. Um, and so it doesn't foam because detergents are what makes a product foam. They're certain types of surfactants. And Nuwash was born, different way of cleaning hair, and he discovered immediately after trying it on himself and some of his closest that everything changed in terms of the health of the scalp and then how the hair just felt moisturized by its natural oils. And I won't get into the kind of full chemistry of how it works unless you want me to. But Hair Story was really born out of this need. Um, and came out of a very interesting creation and formulation of something that was just way ahead of its time, and super disruptive. And then then he partnered with Eli Hallowell, who's the former general manager of Bumble and Bumble. So I worked with both of them for a very long time, and they created Hair Story and built a brand out of this. Eli is just a master strategist, business person, and came up with some really novel ideas of how to run this business and how to tap into a professional market that had been underserved.
Yeah.
Um, and they created this like first ever, frankly, affiliate model, which is basically an influencer affiliate model before social media had this whole influencer marketing, um, you know, context. Um, and they did that through the professional channel, working with independent hairdressers who did not belong to a commission salon. They couldn't afford to buy huge opening packages from brands, thousands of dollars of inventory sitting on their shelves. There was no way. So they were kind of hodgepodging the products that they were using, and really not selling anything. So leaving a ton of like potential revenue or on the
Yeah.
table.
On the board.
And they
Yeah.
created this affiliate model, which allowed independent hairdressers to sell the product through Hairstory's website and earn commission.
Yeah.
So, also really interesting. I'm sure we'll get into that later too, but that kind of was the birth of Hairstory.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I had this whole plan and you've now just, you've turned it
Sorry.
on its head. When I mean, I love the origin story of brands, and I mean, this is a story as old as the direct to consumer industry is, which isn't that old, but you have a founder who can't find the product they're looking for, and they go out and buy that product. It's that unmet need. And on the one hand, you talk about it in terms of the product innovation, but I think for me, what is really interesting and that I didn't get in the research that I had done was that stylist who's dealing with the slippery hair from the conditioner or the really dry hands, there's another need right there. And then the other need is you are leaving business on the table as someone that is a trusted professional that can be an advocate, can be a storyteller for the brand. And I'm very tempted to go there, but I wanna first bring it back to you for just a sec because you kind of you buried it there a little bit with brands like Bumble and Bumble, and I know you spent a long time at Creed.
Yes, I did.
You were not CEO at those companies, but instead occupied, um, some form of marketing leadership, whether it was chief marketing
Yes.
officer or head of marketing.
Mhm.
And I'm just curious at brands like that, how much of your time did you spend storytelling, and is that really the reason that you were obviously a known commodity to these 2 and they tapped you on the shoulder to I mean, let's be honest, creating a category, telling a story, trying to do something that is disruptive, not necessarily meeting the end customer where they are, like, suddenly my shampoo isn't foaming. Is it your ability, as a storyteller that attracted them
Mhm.
to you?
Oh, I mean, I don't know about that. Um, I can talk a little bit about leadership, but frankly, I think I'll go back to maybe speculating on what attracted them to me, but honestly, probably, you know, whether I was conscious of it or not, what attracted me to the brands is that every single brand that I've worked with, it hasn't been that hard, although it's hard work, it hasn't really been that hard to tell the story or grow the brand because the products
Yeah.
speak for themselves. The quality and the branding and the tightness of the message, the clarity of the message has been, set from the onset from the founder, and that in and of itself makes a marketer's job easier. And then
Yeah.
obviously you have to do the massaging and the caretaking and the hard work of making sure that that message maintains and that it's clear to your audience and that you keep kind of reiterating the brand values, promise, message, the aspirational value of the brand, whatever it is. I mean, I've worked for some amazing brands.
It's the balancing act, I guess, between like traditional brand building, and I don't think there's any shortcuts. You just said it there as plain as day, which is if the product isn't good, especially a product that I like to say you put honor in your body, customers aren't coming back. Doesn't matter how attractive the win back offer you're going to bludgeon them with is. It all starts there, and I think it's really nice to be able to be at a place where you have that as a building block. Of course, wearing the chief marketing officer hat, you I would imagine you have to balance that out between, "Okay, I need to do some traditional brand building,
Yeah.
but I also need to get customers into the door." And I have seen the marketing role increasingly becoming one that is more commercial, perhaps than it was sort of 15 or 20 years ago. Can you talk about maybe, like, the role of the modern marketer, how you saw it evolve over, like, the time at, when you were at companies that were owned by Estée all the way towards you're now at a startup?
I mean, I think there's so many brands infiltrating the market that um, it's it's so diluted now, and how do you kind of get through the noise of what is really a um, true honest brand proposition and delivery, making good on the promise that the brand makes versus, just yet another kind of copy, so to speak,
Yeah.
even if it has a nice flashy look and feel and name, and packaging. I would say that all of the brands, again, Bumble, Creed, now Hairstory, um, I think you have to be patient as a brand founder and as a marketer to just not try to do too much or reach too far and really just let the brand, while obviously extending energy and money and investing, let the brand do the building um, through its worth and through the actual product.
Yeah.
Because I would say that all three of those brands were built out of aspiration and having a small group of people discover, trendsetters, so to speak, discover the brand, love the brand, see that it delivers, tell their friends, those friends tell their friends, and then you've got, like, all of this other kind of juicy layers on top of that, whether it's a salon that has amazing razor cutting technique or, a fragrance brand that has this father-son passed down 7 generations of history of fragrance making and sourcing the most, um unique and powerful ingredients from around the world, and really being true to that and having the true kind of delivery of what the brand promises, make good on that, sorry, make good on what the brand promises to the customer. And I think if you don't do that from the onset and let it like really like steep, then I think you're just gonna you could have a viral thing happen, and you're just gonna, like, die as quickly as you were born.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a way to think about I would encourage founders or marketers to think about virality in a controlled and disciplined way. Like, it's almost like this managed chaos. Like, if you have the discipline to your point, to let it steep, I really like that. Like, especially when we're dealing with a physical product, you gotta discover it, you gotta try it, you gotta see its results, you gotta get through the first thing you bought, you gotta buy it again. Like, no matter how good the tools are today, it still takes time to establish that relationship and that trust. And so if we think about it on a longer time horizon, we can have these moments that feel like somewhat chaotic where you're amplifying the message, you're going really fast, but I think you've got to have this longer term perspective on what it takes to build a brand.
And to add to that, I think you have to have that if you're gonna build something that has longevity because as a brand founder, creator, or marketer, you will learn things on the way and have to pivot. There is no way that you're getting it right 100%
Impossible.
of the time, you know, every single day. And so you have, and maybe that's one aspect of my leadership that has worked in these various organizations because I've come into organizations when they're not, owned by a huge conglomerate or, just so big that you can't get through the bureaucracy.
Yep.
um, you need to be nimble and you need to be able to listen and know when you need to fix something, change something, slightly pivot. I talk about it like a nervous system. There's lots of different like tentacles that lead to the main artery, and there's lots of different paths you can take, and you have to be able to choose the path to get to the quote unquote end. Although I don't think there's ever really an end. um, and I think that, um, if you try to do it too fast, you're just gonna bleed out,
Yeah.
like, you
Yeah.
you won't get to, like, safely to the main artery.
And maybe that's like a good segue into this topic of category creation. And so I think when being disruptive, being a category creator is often romanticized, if I can be completely honest, at least from where
Mhm.
I sit. Maybe I'm just poor at category creation. And everyone loves that founder story, which is like I couldn't find this product and I had to make it and I created a category. Um, but maybe if you're willing to be honest, like talk about the part that no one is willing to talk about, like where creating a category is really effing hard.
Yeah,
Where
well,
customers are just not looking and you're telling them that the thing that they're doing is wrong. How do you do that delicately when you believe so strongly in the efficacy of the product that you want them to discover?
it's such a good question for me because I'm not the founder, therefore, I don't have that same founder vision or mindset, but coming in as the CMO and then becoming the CEO quickly, um I had to be very careful about trying to, like, throw it all out there all at once
Yeah.
because I didn't have all of the, like, history of the nuance of, explaining the product and maybe, like, figuring out what the right, valuing crops were, what people were looking for, how to stick to the core story. I mean, I had been a customer of New Wash forever, and I knew what it did for me, which is all changed my life, changed my son's life too. I can talk about that. But, I think that it's really hard actually to create a category, and I think we're still having a hard time creating category, particularly in the area that we're playing in, which is cleansing your hair. I mean, when does anyone think not to shampoo? Why would there be another way? Why would you ever think that you need another way? You shampoo your hair, you condition it, and then you really focus on your styling, right? And you're like, "Oh, why does my scalp hurt? Why does this? Why does it feel dry and tight? Why do I overproduce oil?" And then you think these scalp solutions are gonna be your
Well, then you
solution.
just wash it more. You know,
And
it's
then you
like,
just
"Oh,
wash it more, or
yeah,
I swim and I
yeah."
have to wash it every day, or it gets frizzy or whatever.
I'm very
It's like
guilty of that. Just like
it's like
automatic.
so when you create something and you yourself, me, believe in it, and you wanna just tell everyone like, "This trust me, it does this and this and this," which it does all of these things. It adds volume, it, like, reduces frizz, it adds softness, it defines curls, it's one and done. It's one step. You don't need conditioner, you don't even need a mask, and your scalp's gonna feel great, and maybe if you have dandruff, it might go away or flaky scalp or whatever. And you need to use less styling products. If I told you all of that on day 1, when you're hearing about the product for the first time, you would be like, "Mm, I don't
Yeah.
know about that."
Not me. I'm an early adopter. I'd be like, "Yes, please. That sounds great."
There aren't that many of them, believe it or not, and so it takes a lot of repetition and hard work and advocacy and social proof and again, repetition and just sticking to your message and really sticking to the core to like, even just get one new customer, right? To believe. I mean, honestly, at Hairstory, I wouldn't say we've hit the tipping point. I think we're actually, like, hopefully gonna get there and hopefully soon, but we're not there. I don't think people understand still what we're trying to deliver. Um, we have a lot of customer service, policies that are really great and an amazing customer service team, which, by the way, has been the case in every organization that I've worked with. That's super important, and not just outsourcing it. I've never outsourced a customer
People
service
care
team.
about the people
They're
behind the brand, especially when
and
you're too established
they
in that relationship.
they basically win back, so to speak, customers every day that are like, "Oh, my roots are oily, it's not working for me." It's like, "Well, did you use it this way? Maybe you need to try this formula," you know? Um, but it this is the long road. Disrupting a category like this is the long road.
For sure. Yeah, the 2 best examples that I've ever come across for guest experience, like Glossier was famous for it. You know, the team was called the G team. They just took care of customers and, I mean, like, there's gonna be a book written about that customer service, I would imagine. And Blue Bubble Coffee, I don't think gets enough
Yeah.
recognition for this. Their guest experience is absolutely fantastic, and it's a part of your daily ritual. And,
Mhm.
if you run into a problem with it, it's not something that they outsource, it's something that they take really
And
seriously, and,
and I will tell you, hair is so important to people. It's like
yeah,
it's the bad hair day thing is real. So when
yeah,
you try something and you're investing your money in it because it's not necessarily perceived as inexpensive, right? It's a premium price
yeah,
product. And if people who we get messages every day that this is life changing. That's a common thing that we hear because it is. Um, but when you're when it doesn't work for you, you will contact customer service. It's not like, you know, I don't wanna, belittle anything else, but something that's kind of like you could it easily replaceable.
right.
So our customer service team is just one of, they're 4 of the most valuable people in the organization.
Brand ambassadors to a large degree, I would imagine. So, you said you're still working really hard and you gotta convince and convince and convince, and then people take that chance. I read a little bit about some of your retention numbers and just be curious, is what I read true? Like, once you manage to get people in the door, um, is there anything else that's secret besides the product just working that makes that recurring revenues as sticky as it reportedly is?
Um, Definitely the product does all the heavy lifting, and then we know that there's, price sensitivity, and a lot of we have a really strong subscription business because we give really great subscription benefits. And I think that helps, obviously, not think, it obviously helps our retention. Um, and we are constantly looking at our subscription business and just trying to make it, like, more favorable to our subscribers, giving them the best deal and giving them hopefully the best deal across other channels where we sell. Our direct channel really should be the destination for the retention, but, we sell on Amazon. We That is a harvesting channel for us. People like to shop there.
Sure. Yeah,
We
gotta meet
wanna
they are
yeah,
sometimes.
we gotta meet them where they are, which kind of leads me to our next stage in the hair story life. I know you haven't asked me the question yet.
I will, and I want to. Just maybe one more question because I think subscription, unfortunately, has established this sort of reputation as it's something you just bolt on. And hearing you talk about how hard you all are working on subscription, um, is it benefits? Is it this, like, something that sort of feels like membership? Like, you're clearly
Yeah.
working hard to acquire the customer. It sounds like this isn't a one and done thing. Like, you're constantly looking at how you can make the perks for your subscribers better and better. Is that fair to say?
We are constantly looking at perks for our subscribers. I think we could do a way better job. I actually think this is an area of the business we're focusing on right now. Um, we Years ago, before my time, had a strong loyalty program, and this was before even, like, subscriptions kind of had a had their heyday
One of the
during
component,
COVID.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and then there were some things that switched and we no longer had our loyalty program. So now this is something that we're going to introduce very soon in the imminent future, which will then add some value to our subscribers. We've definitely seen the same trend that everyone else has seen with subscriptions, less and less people subscribing just because they
yeah,
don't, for the same reasons that
yeah.
everybody else has seen a dip in subscriptions. I think when you use New Wash, um, and by the way, New Wash is not our only product, but it's like a lion's share
Yeah,
of our business. So
yeah,
it's what really sets the stage for the rest of our line anyway. When you use New Wash, you cannot go back to shampoo.
sure,
You try and you just can't go back to shampoo. Like you're destroying your scalp and you feel it and your hair feels it too. So how could you go back to that? And there isn't another product that does what New Wash does. There's nothing on the market. So why wouldn't you subscribe if you could get the best price, right? So I think that's why we have such a strong subscription business. And then I think, I think people just need to be, again, it's like repetition. Not everybody's reading every email or opening every email or, we do have really strong biannual promotions. And so we will get the regular repeaters to come back and buy maybe in larger volumes during those promotional periods, particularly if they're price sensitive. And I am all for people returning to purchase one time. Not everybody has to be a subscriber, nor will they be. But, I think, if you're loyal to a brand and you figure out what your cadence is, I mean, it's just easy. It's so
yeah.
easy to make sure that you never run out.
Yeah. Yeah, I am of the opinion that I think the subscription model is going to change here over time. I imagine if we were to look at your data, there are some cohorts of people that you would not call a subscriber who are subscribed. They're just choosing, you either send them an email and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm running out," and they are loyal. They're not maybe on the auto ship program, and so it's not as automatic for them, but they are otherwise loyal to the brand and they're subscribed. So I kind of imagine this future where you might know and I might send you a text and say like, "Hey, Dina, running low. Like, can I ship you some more?" And you're like, "Yeah, actually, do you mind?" And you text me back, and we have all of your information, and it's commerce is just happening in a way that is frictionless.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we're unfortunately up against messaging that subscriptions are bad. You're somehow getting tricked into something. I think for a certain cohort of customers, they want that auto ship. They want to
Mhm.
never run out. I want my life to be automatic. And others are, I would imagine, are your subscribers. They just might need a nudge every once in a while. And so that's where I think the direct channel is important. Like, do you know them well enough to know when they're ready to order and what have you tried and how can you bring them back in and can treat them as as a subscriber, but without applying
Yeah,
the
one time.
say, "Can you
Yeah.
subscribe?"
I mean, we do. I think we have again, there's like so much room to
Yeah,
grow always.
sure.
Um, but I think we do know our customers very well. I think that um it's pretty simple business, right? It's a pretty simple business model when you're selling one or selling many products, but selling one product, right? It's not that hard to understand how often someone uses it or how long they have before they need to replenish. We probably could do a much better job at getting more information from our customers. And so we do have a journey where we try to send more people through our hair chat is what we call it, hair like HAI our chat, because it is really fantastic proprietary chatbot that we built that feels like a person.
Huh.
It's in the voice of our lead hairdresser, Wes Sharpton,
Yeah,
and it will recommend the appropriate products, cadence, whatever the person is in need of or their hair needs, and um, we then get more personalized information, of course, from the
yeah.
customer. So we do have a journey where we try to send people through that.
The conversations you're willing to have with an agent that are the amount of information you're willing to share when it's not a human on the other end, I'm continue to be fascinated by that trend.
Also,
Maybe
it's just
Oh, go ahead. No, please.
also, I mean, as you, I'm sure, are aware, people are people the average number of words that people would put into Google is like 7 for a search.
Yeah,
Into the chat, it's like 20 something.
yeah.
I think
So
that's
much
the
more,
data.
we're getting it's like an awful lot richer.
Yeah, so our first question is like, "Tell us about your hair," and it's like people write
Yeah,
novels
yeah,
about their hair.
yeah, it's amazing. The other thing that I think is amazing is maybe some of the ways that you were able to acquire customers. You talked about this before, sort of like a very different take on influencer or affiliate by working through hairdressers and sort of meeting them where they were. Maybe they didn't even know they were looking for this product and suddenly it's there. It it sounds innovative. It also feels familiar to me to something that is a little bit older and, like, kind of the beauty consultant model. Am I getting that wrong? Is it,
No, you're getting it right. Actually, one of our co-founders came from a direct selling environment. He was CEO, and he brought that structure here, and it had never been introduced in a hair care brand. And so that combined with, Michael and Eli's vision of really reaching the independent hairdresser, birthed the Hairstory affiliate model with our hairdressers. And frankly, when you're trying to build something new and convince a potential customer to change the way that they wash their hair, who's better to do that than a hairdresser who's literally using the product? They are our best advocates and, those that are with us, and there are about almost 5,000 of them and growing, really believe in the product. And not only do they believe in the product, because I don't think you can trick a hairdresser. They're either gonna use it or they're not. I mean, they might be paid to rep something, but, like, you will not get a genuine recommendation. I think that, the authenticity comes from using it and believing it and really, like, they take things into their heart. It's an emotional business, right?
Yeah,
And I believe that our network hairdressers really feel that way. And then the cherry on top is that we don't just give them the standard commission for the sale. That customer, because we've developed, a program where that customer is forever linked to them. The first time you
yeah,
buy on our site and you put in a hairdresser or you come through their link or you put in their code, you are forever linked to them, and then every time you repurchase thereafter, they get passive income, which is the same
yeah.
commission. So, if you're a subscriber, you are paying your hairdresser potentially for years, and we are happy to do it. And that is, I think, one of the main differences of our brand and any other brand that's adopted an affiliate model now.
I've seen affiliate models not work so many times, more times than I can count, and I think a lot of times it's when it's forced. It's like, I turned on the affiliate channel because I had to turn on the affiliate channel because everyone said you need to do it. And I think you have to do affiliate if it feels authentic to your brand, and, like, holy moly, that story is so powerful, and I it to me, it sort of feels like these stylists already have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, and now you're sort of showing up and you're giving them the tools and you're building this program, and they feel like they're a part of something. Like, not only is it making their hands better, it's making their customers' hair better, and then it's making their, their wallets better. Like, that feels like the trifecta.
We have hairdressers who make a lot of money every year just from Hairstory, and that's, in addition to standing behind the chair and, imagine being in a profession where you have to stand on your feet all day long. That passive income, as it grows and grows, makes a really big difference. And so, we offer them a lifestyle, I would even say, that they maybe would not have achieved otherwise.
That has to be why it's working so well. I knew this was gonna happen. I'm gonna run us out of time, but before I let you go, I did wanna sort of, like, end on transitions,
Yes.
and when I look at your sort of career arc, you spent, decades in marketing, and now you've sort of transitioned into the CEO suite. But before you did that, you sort of left these larger organizations and you walked into a startup. So maybe let's talk about that as that first transition. What was the one thing that maybe someone could have told you, or you can tell a future you that would prepare you well for that transition into the hashtag startup life.
We're a 10-year startup, so
Okay.
maybe I don't want to necessarily speak for a real, true year 1 or year 2 startup. And I think Eli and the other founders did such an incredible job building this brand, so I definitely wanna give them the credit. Um, and I came into this brand when we really needed a pivot and like things were getting kind of soft and a little bit stale. And so we needed to rebuild this brand. And so I guess the advice that I would give someone who's stepping into a startup, especially, well, whether they're founder or stepping into someone else's startup, is um, I think you have to be humbled by the information that you learn. There's so much information at our fingertips now that you can't come in assuming you know everything. And having been a longtime customer, I think that that was super important. And I think there's a level of just rigor and being super efficient with funds, not testing and learning. Like, we have a very strong test and learn environment, like, not putting all your money and making huge bets, but really, like, testing the waters first and then making the right huge bets because money can go fast, can be depleted very quickly, cash, and I also think that you have to move quickly. So, like, even if you're testing and learning, you just have to, like, have a plan and figure out if your plan's working and pivot if you need to or lean in if you need to, and you gotta do that quickly, because otherwise, you're just gonna waste time, and you can't do it in an environment that needs to grow.
Maybe the biggest transition of your career was moving from chief marketing officer to chief executive officer. And I did a similar transition when we started Cord. I'd been in the CTO suite for a real long time, and suddenly I found myself being the CEO. And when you talk about some of that culture and like sort of like testing and learning, I'm just curious, did your experience you think set you up really well, or again, I'll ask you the same question: like, what advice would you give to a future you who is working on this transition from going from CMO to CEO. It's not really a job you apply for. It is a job that is it is suddenly available, and you just have to take it, I would imagine.
That's exactly what happened to me, suddenly available, and I had to take it because I was already here. My advice would be to lean on subject matter experts. I would and be a little humble or a lot
Yeah.
humble. I was not a finance genius by any means, being in a marketing seat. Like, most marketers are not, CFOs or, close to it. So I really had to lean on my partners internally, including Eli, the co-founder and chairman of our board, to really learn how to run a business from a financial standpoint versus like a brand building standpoint. Um, I also needed to have the right people in the right seats. And I think the CEO experience for me has been very humbling, also in people management and um, really getting the strength where you need it. And I've had to reorganize this small company a couple times since I've been in the CEO seat. And it's hard, but at the end of the day, like, you're the one person that's making
Yeah.
the decisions, and either you're gonna like go left or go right, and you don't wanna go left because left isn't gonna lead you to where you need to be. So at the end of the day, we're in a business, and so I think I've done a really good job at hiring amazing talent and then leaning into the talent, and sometimes having to shift their roles to play into their strengths, to make sure that I maintain the talent. And I think if you can do that with the majority of people, especially your leadership on your team, you will succeed. You can't succeed by just like, plugging a hole.
That is excellent advice. Those are very, very wise words. I think that it makes me think that you've been in the CEO suite for decades, not just a couple of years. Um, Yeah, Dina, I wanted to talk about a transition of the industry that we're seeing in AI, but maybe that is a sort of foreshadowing for episode 2.
Okay.
This
I'd
has been
love
an
that.
amazing conversation. Congratulations on all of the hard work.
Can I say
Congratulations.
one more thing?
Yeah, please do.
'cause I didn't get to mention it, and it's like a
Oh,
moment for this brand. We are going into retail, which
you
is
are,
huge.
congratulations.
Yes,
Yes.
we just announced it last week. We have partnered with Ulta, and we're going into a select number of doors. Um, Big change for this brand. Change, in so many ways, and we've been preparing for this. I mean, a lot of the so when I started in the CMO role, which was only lasted maybe 6 months, and then I moved into the CEO role, my intent in starting was to get us into retail. So every decision that not maybe not every decision, but a lot of the decisions that I made were through the lens of retail. And, even just getting Ulta to say yes was a huge, huge win. And then our team had been working on repackaging the brand, rebranding our visuals. We had relaunched our site for, a lot of other reasons as well. And so I feel like a brand's 10 years old. I don't think we would have been prepared to be there before this experience. And I also think that, they wouldn't have been able to get into retail, and let's hope that we do really, really well there without having someone at the helm that has a lot of retail
Retail
experience.
experience, yeah.
So maybe that is also a topic for another episode. But and especially once we're like officially in for a few months, I think it'd be really fun to
I
catch
think
up.
it'd be great to bring it like, to talk about that other transition. I think there's a lot of people who are looking for that advice to it's the sort of we talked about it with affiliates. I do affiliates because I have to do affiliates. And now a brand today, there's a playbook. You have to be omni-channel on day one, but I'm not like, there isn't a playbook, and I think as I think about the story that you told on today's episode, there's a brand building component, there's a category creation component. So if you suddenly if you show up on day one, I would imagine, to Ulta, um, and you sort of say, "Hey, we're this new category, and we're going to do we wanna be on your shelves," they're gonna be like, "No." Like, you sort of show up with a brand that is established, a story that you're telling, and now suddenly they're interested. And so, it goes back to this idea that things just take time. And it's like, it's being patient and being willing to test and being willing to adapt. And I'd love to learn about your playbook of how you ultimately got to Ulta and some of
Yeah,
the other changes that you're seeing across the business. And maybe that is the one that we do in person, because I feel like
that'd be
there's
fun.
just a lot more we could unpack.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. I would love to have a part 2.
Yeah, I would love that. Well, thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest today. So lovely to meet you finally. And please
Yes.
soon.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thank you.